Guys, welcome back to my channel. This time I'll be talking about the list that I'm playing today on the release of the video at the Bloodstorm Hunt for Glory event. So this event is an event where we're playing 4,000 points and there's no secondary objectives. It's all about killing your opponent, and it also doesn't really matter how much stuff you lose in the progress because you're only going to track how much points you make off your opponent. I thought about what kind of lists I would want to play. I thought that, well, between my armies, Warriors of the Dark Gods, Empire of Sunstyle, Dread Elves, and Vampire Covenant, the first three would be quite a good fit for this kind of event, and Vampire Covenant, I don't think it fits that well unless you play a certain archetype of list. So I was left with Empire, Warriors, and Dread Elves, and I already played Warriors and Dread Elves, as well as Vampires actually, during Bloodstorm this year, so I thought, well, let's go back to Empire for a go. Now, this is the only event where you get a chance to not play with any scoring units, because scoring units don't do anything at all. So I thought, well, then just let's go there without any scoring units in my list. And I think this is also quite an okay setup, to be honest, just in case you don't have to play with any scoring units for the objectives. So what you can see mostly is that I have 100 State Militia with some support. So the State Militia, it's a funny unit in Empire of Sunstyle. It's a unit that has paired weapons, that has bows, that has pistols. It's light troops, and yeah, that makes all the difference basically. Because you're not going to get any rank bonus, but you will be able to march and shoot. So you'll also be able to march and shoot with your pistols. So they have a 4+2 hit. Unfortunately, pistols don't get to shoot from the 3rd rank if you are in horde formation, in line formation. But otherwise, that would be that would be really great. So what I'm imagining is that the State Militia, they can even go 12 wide if the situation allows. Then I can shoot with my pistols, then I can stand and shoot with my pistols, and then I can still strike with my paired weapons in combat. So as long as my opponent does not have that much armor, that is actually quite a good deal, especially for the 250 points that they are. Now, to lure in my opponent, they also still have the bows, so it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad setup for a unit in general. Even though if they do get hit by the opponent, they just have victim stats with resilience 3 and no armor at all. So how to make this work? My first thoughts were, well, just supporting it with magic, because the other ways of supporting them are not really that viable. Because you don't have the parent support system, you don't have any orders that you can put on them. So mostly magic is the way that you can support them. Also, the Arcane Engine still works there, so I have an Arcane Engine in my list with Foresight, which gives them lightning reflexes, making their 2-hit roll a bit easier. So I am going for the offense of the State Militia here, because buffing the defense, if I have to buff the defense up to a level where they are becoming quite resilient, then it's going to be practically impossible to do that. So I also included the Mantle of Ulor on my Marshal to not give my opponent a +1 agility on the charge, so I do get a guarantee of striking, or at least a bit more of a guarantee of striking first. And then magic setup, I have a Wizard Adept on Divination, and I have somewhere a Wizard Apprentice. So this Wizard Adept on Divination is, with the Magical Heirloom, is likely going to take the reroll to hit spell, Stars Line, know the enemy for extra agility to strike first, and also be able to strike easier, and Cosmology +1 aim and +2 offense, because that spell is actually quite good on State Militia, where you get a +1 on your aim for the shooting phase, +1 for the aim for the stand and shoot, and you also get your +2 offense on your attacks. And the State Militia are then backed up by some mortars and some cannon. So this is mostly to deal with single models, and well, the mortars, they can have a dual function of either shooting at strength 6 AP 10 or going for units and just thinning down very big units. Like if I am gonna face Vermin Swarm, then it's gonna be a very short game, I guess. Um, I thought about getting a second cannon, but cannons are quite hit or miss, so I prefer to have an artificer in the list to ensure that my cannon cannot really misfire with the effect of not being able to shoot for the rest of the game, because you get the reroll on the misfire table as well. And then if I would prefer my mortar to have a +1 to hit, he can just run over to the mortar and give it a +1 to hit instead of the cannon. Then I still have 3 blocks of flagellants. They're also non-scoring to keep with the theme, and I also think that they supplement the army quite well because they are immune to the panic tests possibly caused by the state militia. And in addition, well, unbreakable anchors are quite good in such a list that is quite ranged oriented. And I think, well, in the format, they're also going to perform quite well in the sense that they will also still strike in combat as long as my opponent does not shoot them down. And I'm not expecting that much shooting, to be honest. Then, just to back everything up, I have a Knight Commander and a Marshal. Both have a decent armor save. The Knight Commander has a 1-up with a reroll to save. And then the Marshal basically has a 2-up, I believe, because he has plate armor and a horse. So they are just some cowboys, cheap cowboys that I can use to block stuff that the rest of the list cannot really block. So all in all, I think it's quite a decent list against unarmored units because I have quite a lot of damage output against non-armored. However, if I'm going to run into armored lists, I am going to struggle because 90% of the list does not have any armor penetration at all. The only thing I have is Quicksilver Lash on a Wizard Apprentice. Otherwise, I have my Knight Commander Young Griffin with AP3. He can grind a bit because, well, he also has the 1-up rerollable himself. And then, yeah, basically that's the AP. Even though the state militia, obviously the pistols they have AP2, but once I get into combat, all that AP power is just gone. Yeah, so I'm quite curious to what will happen. We will see. I will do some battle reports, or I'll try to do some battle reports if I don't forget to take pictures. And yeah, I would like to wish everyone at the event the best of luck, and well, maybe we'll see each other on the table.